I was told that if I made a submission to the National Museum of the American Indian, I would most likely get the commission. I was surprised because I had gone through so much difficulty with the Canadian Museum of Civilization that I was sort of exhausted and depleted from that experience. And the hard thing is to let most of my staff go that had worked on the project. And you know, you want to give people rewards for their work, not let them go. That was very hard. It's like a ship, you know, it's like a big ship that's gone crashing on the rocks, you know. And the captain sort of wasn't steering it right, wasn't looking after his team right. Not only did I lose my staff and everything, I lost a 25-year marriage. And so, and that was difficult. But then I met Adoya.
Silver lining.
Yeah, he's a very positive person. And we decided that we were going to take the world on together. And so she encouraged me to go to Washington and make a submission for the project. I remember going to Washington and we couldn't afford much, so I stayed in the hotels that were actually had bars on the windows and stuff. They were in the nicest section of town. But, and I went down to the local drugstore and got a T-square and triangle and a compass and basic drafting instruments. So I started realizing that I was in a very strong position. And each wanted me to be part of their team. So I said okay to every one of them. That yeah, I'll be part of your team. I mean, if you're going to make presentations 6 times to the client, I mean, that's not bad.
That's good odds.
Yeah, good odds that I might be selected by one of them. So then Anne Roberts saw a lot of me in the presentation. By the 6th time, she would come in and wink at me like, okay, what pitch are you going to make now? You know, kind of thing for the team that I was a part of.
Okay.
My first relationship with Palchik was one of seeing that he had a lot of politics and he was greedy as hell. And he wasn't going to give anybody anything, you know, he's going to take it all. And I thought, I don't want to work with this character, you know. Like, it'll totally be a one-sided relationship. I'd find myself exploited by him, and I don't need that. I already went through that. I didn't like the way that he worked, his charrette. For example, the way he worked was that he gathered everybody together in a room, and everybody sit in tables, and everybody come up with their idea of how that project should be. So then it was like a smorgasbord of ideas. And then he came along with his tray, and selected, oh, this and this and this and this and this. And then he had this ingredients for his meal, which would be designing the project. And I thought, okay, like I like evolving a design from the needs of the people and the community and the vision and all that. I said, I know him, and you'll be all exploited. I don't want to go along with someone who would, call you all partners and say, yes, we could have a relationship, but when it comes to the bottom line, when he starts negotiating, he'll end up with over 90% of the commission. And that's not right, because, it should be a project. It's a project for Native American people, and why somebody with that background and experience should be on the job. And Palchik isn't one. But there was one group that I liked more than anybody else, and that was Geddes, Brooker, Quills, and Cunningham. And I developed it into clear plastic, because although it was curves and everything, very much like the building here, it actually hadn't changed much. I was surprised at the first image and idea of the building. But I did it all in clear plastic because I wanted to express like the spirit of the building, but I didn't want it to be a hardened piece of architecture, because if it was a hard piece of architecture, it would be caught in their mind as that's what I was going to present them, I just wanted to present this ethereal kind of thing. And so the best thing would be to make it clear plastic. We made an impeccable presentation. I mean, we all said our lines right. We spent hours and hours rehearsing. It was just a great presentation. And we were so high, we all ran down, we made our presentation to the Smithsonian, and then we all ran down to the site that we were on, and we all just sort of got together in a circle and just stood there thinking, my God, this is the last site in the mall, right in front of the Capitol. And just then a flock of birds just landed on the site in a circle beside us. We were watching them just land just like that, flew away. One of the Native Americans says, that's a good sign. I think they'll select us for the project. And lo and behold, we were selected for the project. It just blew my mind. Then I got a call from the Prime Minister's office. You're to meet a very important person, a group of people, and we'd like you to give them a tour of the museum. They requested you to give them a tour of the museum. I said, you can sort of go straight to hell. They said, no, this is really important. I said, well, you're not even allowing me to finish the building the way, and you're playing all these games on me. No, we'll resolve that. You have to show up. This is really important. So all these limos showed up. And it was David Rockefeller and all his guests. So at the end of the tour, he said, now you can see why I told everybody in Washington he should do the last site on the building, on our mall. And everybody applauded, you know. I said, well, Mr. Rockefeller, I just got commissioned at the National Museum of American Indian. He said, I know, I'm on the board. So he said, I want you to come to New York and see me. He gave me his card. I was told that I would not be able to do any work in Canada because I had crossed the government of Canada. So I was not going to get any more work. And they would make certain that I wouldn't get work. So I thought, okay, I'll move to Washington. We got some land in Virginia so I could do my sweat lodge thing because I knew I'd be under a lot of pressure. And we got a condo which overlooked the mall. So I could just walk across the mall to my office in L'Enfant Plaza. I realized that the only way that I could design the building in Washington was to understand the whole master plan that L'Enfant put together for their nation's capital. And all that information was in the archives of the Fine Arts Commission. When I saw the way the mall was designed with these buildings, they started off with a higher dome, but as the domes got closer to the Capitol, the domes became lower and lower and lower, so that the Capitol dome would rise up to be the ultimate symbol on the mall, with the Washington Monument at the other end, you know, the obelisk. So I knew the dome had to be lower. The other thing, it had to have the same height as the architrave. They had to be the same height as the other buildings. So it was like taking the building and putting a shape on that particular site, and then realizing that it would be almost like in a way the Inuit carve the stone, where they sort of bring the bear out of the stone, but you can still feel the original stone. So it's like making a keystone to complete the whole composition of the mall, but carving enough out of that stone to make a very unique symbol on the mall, but yet it had to belong to the whole mall. So I asked Carter what kind of building he wanted on that. And to him, a lot of the buildings along the mall are enclosed spaces, very little glass. But I.M. Pei's building has glass opening to the Capitol, whereas his building is all triangles. Mine is all circles. His building is very male. My building is very female. But I opened up the building the way that I.M. Pei opened up the building to have more glass to the mall and to the Capitol. And I did the same, more glass to the mall and to the Capitol, to balance the fenestration between the two buildings, so that at night there'd be these two lit lanterns with the Washington Monument at the end. There'd be different compositions, but it would still be the same theme that Carter wanted. So Carter really liked the design of the building because it carried out his concept for the design. he was still holding this. And he said, not only do you have my money, you got my time, and that's even more valuable. You got my time and Jane's time. So I had then been inviting to meetings, to dinners that he had, like in New York, where he and Jane Fonda had me present the project to their friends, and then they were able to raise money. It was a great experience for me too, because Jane Fonda was one of my heroes. I loved her in the movies she played. And so I was a fan of hers, and she said she was a fan of mine. It was great. I had a great time. When we designed the project, what I was concerned with was the Smithsonian didn't have Native American people in the process. Although Rick West, who regarded himself as Native American, as director, he truly did not fully understand or embrace the culture. I requested that I have elders from the Americas to come to Washington and give me a very powerful vision. Look at Washington, he said. Maybe people here may not behave well, but it's still a city that actually has a strong spiritual base, if you look at it. There's the Capitol that represents the female power, the dome. There's the obelisk, the male power. There's the City of the Dead on the other side of the river. This is exactly how we would plan our cities. And they had this vision at the end that it was about contribution. It was not to talk about any negativity of the past. It was just to show the contribution that First Nations have contributed to society. It was all about recognition, about reconciliation and forgiveness. So it was a beautiful vision that they talked about on the mall, and something that was very inspiring. So I asked that 4 of those elders would guide me through the whole process, all the way through. And it was one of the few times in Washington that anybody had achieved that. We had the money, we had everything. And I thought we were all on the right track. Everything was going fine. And then the head of the Smithsonian changed. To some of the people here, I guess we have to tell them to. Hey, you guys. Hey, you guys. We're recording.